Protecting nature is not just a global agenda. It is local work done by real people in real places: a river, a forest, a harbor, a town, a community. And today we are traveling to one of them, to Sao Paulo in Brazil. Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of the BIOFIN-EU podcast series. BIOFIN-EU project is a European Union project aiming to bridge the gap between finance and nature. I am Alexia Mastora, Communications Manager at Reino, and today I have the pleasure of hosting Hummam Shaheen from the Lusofona University. Hello Hummam, and thank you for being here with us.
Hello Alexia, and thank you for having me. Yes.
Would you like to tell us a few things about you and your role to the project?
Okay, I'm a PhD candidate at Lusofona University in urban planning, and now I'm a researcher at RCM2+. It's a research center and working on BIOFIN project.
Hummam, Sao Paulo has over 20 million people. When we talk about restoration, I have to admit that the first thing that I think is where. What does that actually like in a city that big?
Yeah, I would say yes. This is a very natural question, and this is the first question that comes to my mind. When we hear restoration nature in a city like Sao Paulo, we may imagine that it's like a forest or an empty piece of land. But in a city, in that density of Sao Paulo, restoration looks different. It usually happens in very specific places where the city is under pressure. For example, it can happen along polluted streams, in flood-prone areas, landslide risk zones, or near riverbank, with or without informal settlements, often weak, fragile environmental areas. So the idea is not to bring nature back in a romantic way. It's more about repairing the parts of the city where nature and urban life are already colliding. This can mean recovering water courses, creating small or linear green areas, protecting water source zones, or improving areas where poor housing conditions are also creating environmental risks. What is important actually in Sao Paulo is the prioritization. So it's the prioritization. The city cannot work like everywhere at once. So the focus is on a place where restoration can solve more than one problem at the same time. Environmental degradation, flood risk, lack of green spaces, and difficult living conditions. And when we ask where does nature restoration happen in a city like Sao Paulo, I would say it happens in the critical urban edges where informal settlements, water, risk, and remaining green areas meet together. So that is where restoration actually becomes very concrete, and it's not only about planting trees, it's about making the city safer and healthier and also more livable, let's say.
That makes a lot of sense. This learning site focuses on attracting private investment to support community-led ecosystem protection and restoration. Who are these private investors and what motivates them in order to invest?
Yeah, that is a good question because when we hear private investors, we usually think that about banks, companies, or investment funds. But in this case, it's a little different. The main contributors are actually the water and sanitation customers of Sao Paulo, or in Sao Paulo, I mean the citizens. People pay their water and sanitation bills, and part of that money is directed to the municipal fund. So, in a simple way, the users of the water system are helping finance improvements that contribute directly to urban water systems by supporting all the city. And what do they get in return? You can ask me that. So, they do not get the financial profit like a normal investor would, but the return is more practical. It comes through better services, lower urban risks, or improved public spaces, and a healthier environment. So, for example, when the fund supports works that improve drainage or protect water sources, this can reduce pressure on the water system and make the city more resilient. When it supports better urban conditions, residents benefit from safer and more livable neighborhoods. So the logic is not I invest money and receive profit. The logic is I contribute through the service I use, and the city becomes better and able to protect systems that I and we all depend on. What is also important is that this type of fund can create confidence for other contributors. Once there is a stable mechanism already collecting and directing resources, it becomes easier to attract additional support from public budget, from donors or development partners, for example. It's private money in the sense that it comes from users, but actually the benefit is shared across the city.
I have to say that that sounds like a brilliant model to my ears. So, Hummam, when so many things are happening at once, housing, urban planning, ecosystem restoration, how do you figure out what is causing what?
Yeah, that is one of the hardest questions from a monitoring perspective. When several things happens at the same time, housing, planning, infrastructure, and ecosystem restoration, it is not always realistic to say this result came from this activity alone. In my experience, I would not start by trying to separate everything completely. I would first recognize that these actions are designed to work together. So instead of asking only what caused these results, I would ask how did each part contribute to the change. And actually, this is important because in a city like Sao Paulo, the needs are very high. Different sectors are asking for funding at the same time. One team may focus on housing, and other team focus on infrastructure, and other one focus on environmental protection. So even the allocation of resources is already complex. And monitoring also will become complex as well. The practical way to deal with this is to build a clear theory of change from the beginning. We need to explain what each type of intervention is expected to do, and how the different pieces are expected to support each other or one other, let's say. Then we need a small set of useful indicators, and not too many. So just enough to understand whether the main challenges or changes, are happening. For example, we can look at how many families were reached, whether flood risk areas were reduced, whether public spaces improved, or environmental areas were protected. But numbers alone are not enough. So from this point of view, we also need field observation, feedback from communities, and regular discussion between the different teams involved. And actually this helps us to understand the story behind the numbers. So I would say we do not always prove a perfect direct cause and effect relationship in such a complex setting. What we can do is build a strong contribution story. We can show how different investment work together and what changed, and whether the evidence supports the idea that the program contributed to the change. For me, this is the key lesson we can get from monitoring, that when the work is integrated, the monitoring also needs to be integrated. And otherwise, each sector reports its own activities, but we miss the bigger picture.
Beautiful put, Hummam. Attractive private investment for nature in a city might be challenging. Do you see potential for securing more funding in the future, and how do these experiences feed into the BIOFIN-EU dashboard?
Yeah, I would say yes. I think there is a scope for attracting additional funding in the future, as you said. And but for me, in an urban context, the important point is that nature finance becomes more convincing when it's linked to clear benefits. In a city like Sao Paulo, it's difficult to attract funding for nature if the message is only environmental. So the case becomes stronger when nature is presented as a part of a wider solution. So for resilience, better services, safer neighborhoods, and long-term urban planning. This is where integrated projects are important. When gray infrastructure and green infrastructure are blended together, so the value becomes easier to explain, And it's not only about protecting ecosystems. It's also about reducing risks and improving city services, and also supporting people to people's daily lives. So that kind of package can be more attractive to different funders. And not only the government budgets, but also donors and development partners, and potentially private actors who are interested in climate resilience, water security, and sustainable urban development. And this links directly to the BIOFIN-EU dashboard. So, in simple terms, this dashboard is a tool that helps make all of this easier to understand and track. It shows how investments in nature, like protecting ecosystems, connect with other types of projects. That way, we can see the bigger picture of how these different efforts work together and strengthen each other. It's a great example of how combining projects can create extra value and adding new insights and layers to the BIOFIN dashboards. For example, where does the money come from? How it's allocated? Which sectors are involved? What kind of outcomes are expected? Also, how does this support protection and support ecosystem protection and restoration? For me, this is the value of bringing the Sao Paulo experience into the dashboard. It gives a real example of how finance for nature can be connected to urban systems and not treated as a separate environmental agenda. So yes, there is a room for more funding in the future, but the strongest case is not fund nature alone. The strongest case is to fund solutions where nature, infrastructure, and people's needs support each other.
Thank you, Hummam. Thank you so much for being here with us and sharing the Sao Paulo story.
Thank you, Alexia. Thank you.
And also a heartfelt thank you to all of our listeners. For more BIOFIN news, don't forget to visit our website and find us on social media. Until the next episode, thank you very much for listening.
BIOFIN-EU